What's going on, people? Welcome to another Emotion Football live stream. My name is Alam, and today we're going to look through some mock drafts, look through some player rankings. We are roughly about a week and a half away from the 2026 NFL draft in Pittsburgh, and this is around the time where I think if you look at the best mock drafters and the best people that are doing rankings, their stuff starts to become important because this is probably when they're starting to get real and important information. I don't think Daniel Jeremiah, Peter Schrager, all these guys who have really, really good rankings in terms of doing mock drafts are great because they're just like amazing prognosticators that like nobody else can compete with. I think the big thing with them is the fact that they get information. They get real information. And when they do a mock draft, in their head, they're not just deciding, they're not selecting players that they think should go to every team. They're basing things off their own information. So with that being said, we're getting roughly 10 days before the draft, we're getting to around the time of the year where I'm starting to take these people's mocks seriously. And so what we're going to do is react to them and just to see how we feel about them. I got my guy King that I'm going to tag into the stream. Hold on. Oh, fuck the Thunder is your thing. Oh, fair enough. I guess that was there from the NBA stream. What's going on, bro?
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, man. So we're going to get right into it. We got Peter Schrager's mock draft. So he starts off with Mendoza at number 1. That's pretty regular. David Bailey, 2 to the Jets. So I think the conversation with the Jets is just about whether they go Arvell Reese or David Bailey. The reality is they're probably going edge rusher because they can't go running back with Breece Hall.
God damn.
So
I'm still watching the Nuggets stream. We're on a 22-0 run.
Oh man, you guys are trying to catch Toronto. Damn, man, chill. Leave us that 31-0. Leave us that 31-0.
It's too late. They scored, so you got it.
Oh hell yeah. But yeah, we are looking at the Jets and basically deciding whether they pick Arvell Reese or David Bailey. Both of these players are coming from defensive lines that produced pretty decently well. Obviously, Texas Tech's defense was that team saving grace last year, and Ohio State's defense was great too, with star-studded players throughout the lineup. Most mock drafts have Arvell Reese going number 1, so I think it's curious that he has not going number 1, but going to the Jets. Pretty curious to see David Bailey here. I think David Bailey, you obviously have somebody who's more committed to the edge rushing position just because that's what he's been playing. Arvell Reese, a more dynamic player, but obviously less of an edge rusher from the standpoint of like has spent less time playing edge rusher. So I think this is a pretty like, I don't know. I think whoever goes here, the other player goes to a fixed spot. Like in this case, Arvell Reese goes where? Number 3? Like, I mean, wherever these two players go, it's going to be interchangeable. Like one team is going to pick one. The other is just going to take whoever they don't pick. I don't know enough about the players to know whether there's like a distinct marker that makes one significantly better than the other or more suited to different playing styles. Out of curiosity, King, because you watched Texas Tech last year, right?
Yes, I did watch a bit of them. I mostly watched the playoff one, but I do know something about that.
No, did whenever you watched that team, did it look like David Bailey stood out?
David
edge rusher. He was a pass rusher. Damn, he just he just got dropped out of the stream. But yeah, I say that all to say, yeah, you got to start taking it seriously when it looks like the new information might be getting out. So potentially David Bailey to the Jets here. At number 3, he has Arvell Reese to the Cardinals. I could see them going edge, just like the Jets. Like it's fine for both these teams to go edge. They both need a lot of help. Edge is one of the most important positions in modern football. And yeah, I could definitely see Arvell Reese going number 3 to the Cardinals. But yeah, King is back. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was like, yes, I think he was probably one of the only people who was really doing good against Oregon.
Yeah,
and I've seen a bunch of flashes of this kid. He's gonna be great.
Yeah, so I mean, like you got 2 choices here. I think there's not a ton of significance in whether a team goes Arvell Reese versus David Bailey. But yeah, both these teams, Jets and Cardinals, going pass rusher makes sense because it's one of the most important positions in football nowadays. And both teams have rosters that need help in a bunch of different spots, edge rusher included. So addressing one of the most important positions in football before quarterback kind of makes sense here considering that Mendoza's gone. So both these teams taking the best edge rushers in the draft, completely normal and like something that like I wouldn't be surprised if that is based on information. Jeremiah Love to the Titans. You're seeing this a lot. A lot of mock drafters are
Yeah,
I love
I
to
have been seeing it a lot for like the past few months.
the big significance for me is that like go to 8 and 9, right? Kansas City Chiefs, they spent big money on on K9, right? Uh,
Yes.
Saints spent big money on Travis Etienne. To me, I think the only reason those teams would do that is if they were completely sure that Love was not going to be there at 8 and 9. Because even if there's a chance, I don't think they would pay big money and take away your potential. Because drafting Love and having a big money running back would be horrible from a roster construction standpoint. So to me, I think both these teams felt like he had no chance. So if he has no chance, that means he's not falling to 7 either, because that's too close, right? Do we have the Browns taking him? No. Do I have the Giants taking him? I mean, I don't
No.
think so.
I
Like they
mean,
have Scatterbo.
I was like, unless they're like, okay, maybe Scatterbo might be too injury prone.
Maybe, right? So I mean, at least, but with the Browns, they took Judkins, and I don't think they would take Love. So it's like for me, it only makes sense if they feel like he's going either 4 or 5. So I think Jeremiah Love to Tennessee makes sense, and it's funny because like I've said this kind of as a joke, but it's like Tennessee's receiver room. It looks like the receiver room of a run first offense, meaning like you know how like when a lot of teams have a dominant running back, part of the story is that their receivers are kind of shit. And it's like Tennessee kind of has the shit receivers, right? Like they have the shit receivers of an offense that's going to be dominated by a running back. So this part, I mean, I can see it happening. I think Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love in your backfield is pretty sick from a talent standpoint. They have to get the offensive line to match, and I think they have a couple pieces, but they have Dan Moore at left tackle, and King can tell you all about how that's a very up and down experience. So yeah, it makes sense. I don't think it makes Tennessee a great team all of a sudden, but he would be a good productive player for them. Giants taking Francis Mauigoa. So I, for the whole process, have been wondering why more teams don't have the Giants taking offensive linemen. Because I mean, it's the Giants, man. Like their offensive line has it needs help. It's always needed help. That's not new or like irregular. Like this is which is what happens with the Giants. I've seen them taking a lot of other positions. Maybe it's because offensive line isn't considered an extremely strong position in this draft. But yeah, I definitely think that Mauigoa to the Giants would make sense. They could use any like help just about anywhere other than Andrew Thomas's spot. So that part definitely makes sense. In terms of Mauigoa being the first offensive tackle, there seems to be less consensus about that. Like some people like Fano. But yeah, Mauigoa to the Giants does make sense, especially with Harbaugh coming to the Giants. You know how the Harbaughs are. They like their trench players.
And I think one of the reasons why they probably had less because of Harper was because sort of like, oh, Harper already got quite a few O linemen. So they're probably being like, oh, maybe they tried to save this pick for another, your more special players.
Well, this is the funny thing because they just signed Falele, the guy from the Ravens that got cooked
Yeah.
out last year. They just signed him, and it's like, man, the Harbaughs, they just really are who they are. Like they like who they like, and they stick with it. They're very stubborn. But yeah, I mentioned Mauigoa versus Fano. Speaking of Fano is mocked to the Browns here. So Fano is a rare prospect in this class that he has the true versatility across the entire offensive line. He can play tackle, guard, and center. This is the thing about Fano, right? So it looks like Fano is going to be a pretty great offensive lineman. The question marks are whether he can be a tackle. It's kind of different from the Will Campbell situation where Will Campbell kind of just always played tackle. And the question was, can he play offensive tackle in the NFL? With Fano, the similar kind of questions, except Fano played guard and center at a pretty decent level. So my thing about Fano is that like I think Fano is going to be an elite guard in the NFL, and the question just becomes how early is a team willing to take an elite guard? You see guards go really really high every now and then. It's just tough. Like usually the guards that go high. So I'm thinking like Brandon Sheriff. you're talking about somebody who's played guard a lot. This guy played tackle at Utah. So kind of an interesting situation. If the Browns got Fano, I think they would get a great player, but it's just that, and like, again, they do need to replenish some of their guards that they lost. And they need to have a better offensive line to get Judkins going and to give whoever the quarterback is any kind of a chance. It's just going to be interesting about whether teams overthink this one because he's going to be playing guard. But yeah, true versatility, can play every spot on the offensive line. And I don't think whoever takes this player is going to regret it. Sonny Styles to the Commanders. So I think the thing is like, I think my attitude towards most Commanders picks are going to be kind of negative from the standpoint of like, they're kind of fucked in terms of a roster construction standpoint, right? I believe they only have 2 picks in the top 100 picks in the draft. And they had the oldest roster in the NFL last year. So they're an old team that wasn't good, that doesn't really have the ability to get younger. So I don't know, like they're taking Sonny Styles here, which would basically be their Bobby Wagner replacement. And I think he might be better than Bobby Wagner, like right now, considering how old Wagner is. Sonny Styles looks like an elite linebacker. Like it looks like I'm thinking about him like the Fred Warner class of like, he's going to be one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Having that kind of player on a defense that doesn't really have a pass rush, or the ability to keep him clean. I don't know, like that doesn't feel like it's going to be the most impactful thing for the team, but I have to like kind of consciously stop myself from thinking that way because Washington has kind of put themselves in a spot where there is no draft pick that's going to really change things for them. Like they're going to be in a rough spot regardless. So in this case, man, they get a great football player. He's going to be a starter for like 6 to 7 years or whatever. And yeah, like solid pick, nothing to complain about here. Ohio State had a hell of a defense last year, man. Ruben Bain to the Saints. Okay, this is where things are interesting because not everybody thinks Ruben Bain is going to be in the draft high up because of his arms. The Saints could definitely use an edge rusher. They lost Cam Jordan this year. I don't know though. I get the feeling Bain is going to drop a little bit just because I do think people really care about the arms. As far as the Saints drafting an edge rusher, that makes sense. Like it said here, they lost Cameron Jordan, as is their edge rotation wasn't elite or anything, right? But this would be a good player for them, I think. I personally think Bain is going to work out. I just think he's going to get drafted later than people expect. Jordan Tyson to the Chiefs. Okay, this is where this is the first really interesting pick from Schrager because this is ahead of Carnell Tate. So I know me and King talked about these college football receivers a lot last year, but Carnell Tate, I'm fairly convinced he's going to be the first receiver off the board. And I think Jordan Tyson is pretty great too. But Tyson has some injury concerns. He's missed a lot of games. Again, I do think he's going to be a great player. I just think that passing up on Carnell Tate is wild. King, did you watch much of Arizona State?
Not really. I think the only time we've seen Arizona State was when they got upset by Mississippi State.
Yeah, because I mean late time slot. So I've watched maybe 3 quarters of Arizona State football. He looks really good, man. Like again, there's just injury concerns, and Ohio State has developed such a good reputation at receiver. I'd have a hard time imagining Carnell Tate isn't the first receiver off the board. As far as the Chiefs picking receiver, I think they definitely need better receivers because I think as of right now, their weapons in the air don't look that good. Like I don't think Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Tyquan Thornton is good enough. That being said, Andy Reid is a little bit neglectful of the receiver spot, but that's just not good enough. My concern is that their offensive line also isn't good enough. And I think that actually needs improvement first. Like if I was the Chiefs, I would be going offensive tackle with one of these 2 first-round picks that they have. But yeah, a receiver would make them better. But if you really want to make a game-changing move, I think they got to get another offensive lineman. Bengals go Mansour Delane, best corner off the board. They need basically any great defensive player, so this makes sense. And the Chiefs taking Jordan Tyson allows the Dolphins to take Carnell Tate. So in this case, the Dolphins get the best receiver off the board, I think. They sorely need it because they don't have receivers. They simply just don't have. Like their top 2 receivers right now are Tutu Atwell and Jalen Tolbert, who were like wide receiver 4s on Dallas and the Rams last year. So they need a receiver more than anything. The tricky thing about the Dolphins to me is that like their GM talked about how he wants to build a big physical football team, and I don't think receiver in the first round is on track to build that team. I kind of think they're going trenches. They're going trenches, and they're just gonna fuck Malik Willis over with having no receivers next year. That's my personal opinion. So this would help. It's their weakest position on their roster. It's a really good player. This would help, but I don't think they're gonna do it. Caleb Downs to Dallas. This would piss me the hell off, dude, because I think he's going to be an elite football player. And if he falls to Dallas, that would be a great pick for them. They need defensive pieces. I just hope he goes higher than 12. That being said, safeties tend to go later than you expect, right? Derwin James was elite. He went in the teens. Nick Emenwari was great. He fell out of the first round. I'm trying to think of other safety prospects. But yeah, man, safeties like kind of tend to fall out of the top 10. I'm just hoping Cincinnati takes him. Or Miami takes him. I don't want to see him in Dallas. And then the Rams pick that a lot of people kind of have their sights set on, right? Makai Lemon to the Rams. So the Rams have this thing, obviously, where Puka Nacua is checking into rehab. Now, I don't think that means much. I do think they're going to extend him anyways. But Devontae Adams is about to get washed, and they honestly don't have anybody outside of those top 2 receivers. So picking Makai Lemon would allow them to have an elite wide receiver 3 early, and then an eventual Devontae Adams replacement, and a player on a cheap rookie deal throughout the life of Puka Nacua's big, expensive contract. So Makai Lemon to the Rams does make sense from that standpoint. What I think I don't see is I don't see 3 receivers going in the top 13. So I do think they're going to get their choice of, I don't know if they would like Tyson or Carnell Tate better than Makai Lemon. I just kind of don't see them. If there's 2 receivers that go ahead of the Rams, then there might be a better option to take an offensive tackle or something, because the Rams lost their right tackle and they haven't quite replaced him yet. So I do expect the Rams to go either offensive tackle or receiver, whatever position is best value. And yeah, I think in a situation like this, kind of surprising. I would be surprised to see them take the 3rd receiver off the board when they could tighten up that right tackle spot. Kenyon Sadiq to the Ravens. Funny enough, I did a mock draft with Peter a couple weeks ago, and he had this in his mock draft. Kenyon Sadiq to the Ravens. We kind of talked about how the Ravens have always kind of had 2 tight ends. They got rid of Isaiah Likely, haven't really replaced him. Kenyon Sadiq would be obviously an amazing replacement, and then it would set them up nicely where you have 2 like honestly great tight ends at that point. Part of me kind of just thinks that like, if they make this pick, the reality is that they probably wanted receiver, but 3 receivers went ahead of them, and now the value isn't good. So you go get a great pass-catching target. I think Kenyon Sadiq would probably be their best pass-catching target in their offense if they drafted him. But yeah, part of me is just
go ahead. Dang, thanks for putting so much pressure on him with how much for more needs.
Because I just feel like, bro, like he's better than Mark. He would be better than Mark Andrews as a rookie, especially with the fact that Mark Andrews is kind of washed now. And then I think he would be better than Zay Flowers in terms of being reliable, because Zay Flowers is super up and down.
Yeah.
So I think it would work out from that standpoint, but it's just really hard to know what Baltimore wants offensively, because they have Declan Doyle, who we just don't know a whole lot about. Very young offensive coordinator, so I don't really know if he's a 2 tight ends kind of a guy, but Baltimore is a 2 tight ends kind of a organization, so I could see them getting that done. Tampa Bay takes the best corner. I think that makes sense because Tampa, yeah, they just like, I see their roster a little bit differently. I don't think they're that good defensively, and I think this would help. That being said, it does seem like they have 3 bodies at corner that could play right now, with Zion McCollum, one of the rookies they drafted last year, and I think they still have Tyke in the slot, or Izzy or someone like that. But Jerome McCoy would definitely help. Again, they just need help defensively. Omar Cooper to the Jets. Again, okay, if there's 3 receivers that go in the draft before the Jets, I just don't think they take the 4th receiver. Like, the Jets have such a shit roster and they have so many draft picks. They have no rush to just like plug holes. I think that they take BPA, and I just don't think Omar Cooper is BPA at 16. They in this draft they went edge rusher first round. They could go like a bunch of other spots. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know. I've heard a lot of hype about how the Jets love Omar Cooper, but I almost think that you have a chance at getting Omar Cooper at the top of the second round. I don't even know if you have to do all this to take him at 16. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Bit of a stretch here. But that's what they have having. Venga Ione to the Lions. This would be a home run pick, man. As you can see, my name on the screen here is bring Venga to Philly. I think he's gonna be an elite guard. And not every team needs a guard, but I honestly think he might be the best offensive lineman in the draft. Again, unfortunately, he's just a guard. I think Fano is probably higher rated because Fano has that tackle versatility. But Venga Ione, bro, dominant guard. Like he's ready to come in and honestly has a chance to make like a Pro Bowl year one, All Pro by year two. Like I think he's again very good player. He's just a guard. So if he falls in Detroit's hands, that would give him and Penei Sewell and Ione. You'd have two phenomenal offensive linemen. And yeah, like again, I don't know where he's gonna go, but he's gonna make somebody really, really happy. And the Lions need that kind of help at offensive linemen in the worst way. Vikings going safety, dude. I think if they go safety, they fucked up. Because the thing is while they could replace Harrison Smith, dude, I think that like they've done so little this offseason outside of signing Kyler that they do have needs. And I just don't think safety is the biggest need on the roster. Like I would maybe do something at one of their I mean, they need a center. You don't go running back here. But I mean, there's some lack of clarity about like whether Jonathan Grenard's going to be on the team next year. I would maybe consider bolstering the edge spot. I would maybe even consider bolstering bolstering the corner spot because again, I don't necessarily know if I want to see Isaiah Rodgers playing 90% of the snaps next year. But yeah, a bunch of things before safety for me, man. Monroe Freeling to the Panthers. This makes sense. They lost their left tackle to a patella tendon injury in the wildcard game, so they're probably without their best offensive lineman for the whole year. Getting a replacement here makes sense. I think this makes Freeling the third offensive tackle off the board, and I feel like I've seen that pretty consistently, although I might take Caden Proctor over him. Akeem Mesidor to Dallas. They could definitely use edge help again. I expect them to take defensive players with their first few picks. That one I'm pretty confident about. TJ Parker to the Steelers. Steelers going edge here. That's an interesting decision. I don't know if I would like TJ Parker this high in the draft. I could see the Steelers wanting to insulate themselves against TJ Watt getting older. That being said, I mean Highsmith plays well. They had another rotational edge that played well. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I would maybe want to go somewhere on the offense with this pick.
But where would you go? Because let's say all of this is true and everyone got the exact same place. Where do you go? Because we can't go receiver. What? We get the 5th or 6th receiver?
So hold on. Your offensive tackles right now are Broderick Jones and who?
Jones and I don't know, but I guess we can probably go like some type of O-line.
I think I don't know. I would let your young center and guard still play because you have what McCormick, Fautanu, and there's another young guard you have playing. Fuck, I forget his name. Wait, no, you guys lost Sam Malo. Actually, why am I having to think through this? I can just pull up the Steelers depth chart.
Yeah.
1 second.
I'm gonna get pulled the depth chart real quick.
Okay, what the hell? All right, where the hell are the Steelers? Yeah, so as of right now, they have you projected to kick Fautanu to right tackle, Broderick Jones at left tackle, Spencer Anderson at left guard. So yeah, Frazier and McCormick are the two players that I wouldn't necessarily want to replace. I don't know about Spencer Anderson, but if you're looking at two tackles, so if you're looking at a guard, this is probably too high to go guard. I guess they're saying you could go edge rusher. I mean, shit. You know what? I just realized you guys signed Jamel Dean. Yeah, I mean, I think Jamel Dean and Joey Porter are going to be your starting outside corners. It's too high to address slot. You have Asante Samuel Jr. as depth. Like you have three safeties really with Deshaun Elliott, Jalen Ramsey, and Jaquan Brisker. You know what? Why not? Why not go edge? Now I got to go back to this mock to see if there are other edges that I might take over TJ Parker, but taking edge makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, because besides Edge, the only thing that I can see that would be like another like big question mark is QB, and this is not the draft to take a quarterback.
Definitely, definitely. I think if they take Ty Simpson, that would suck, dude. That would really, really suck. Also, give me 1 second. I gotta get my computer charger.
That's all it.
But yeah, feel free to talk about the Steelers in the meantime if you want. Yo, hold on. Did I close the mock draft?
Hopefully you didn't.
Schrager. All right, no, I can pull that back up still.
I was like, yeah.
But yeah, TJ Parker. I mentioned looking at the edge players after Casey Concepcion, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu. Damn, hella offensive tackles in this mock. Yo, he doesn't have another edge rusher going. Wait, interesting. Okay, you know what? A Messidor already got picked.
And then although the other two got picked in the 3 and 4,
Oh, he has a
will be
bunch.
like the fourth person to take Edge.
So he has a bunch of edge rushers not getting drafted in the first round, like Cassius Howell, and then there's another one too. I forget his name, but there's two guys I was considering that he doesn't even have. So, all right, TJ Parker to the Steelers. That'll be one to watch. I'm gonna get my charger. I'll be right back. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, people. BRB. Okay, so Blake Miller to the Chargers. That one's interesting because the question is, what actually is that pick? And the reason I say that is because I don't know if Blake Miller plays guard or not.
I think he's a pure tackle.
Because it says here provide depth behind Alton Slater and then even side inside the guard. Like we can't just throw guard on people because some tackles can make the transition from tackle to guard, but some actually can't. So it would make sense for them to get depth for the tackles because we saw how their season got completely derailed by
once Joe all in them got injured.
Exactly. But taking somebody who's just a backup in the first round also is not how you pursue a Super Bowl or like make your team better in the short term. So if somebody could play guard early on, and then also be your tackle depth in case something goes wrong, that I can get behind for sure. But again, I just don't know if Blake Miller is that guy. Denzel Boston to Philly. I could see the Eagles going receiver. My thing is I don't see them going receiver in the first round anymore because they got Hollywood Brown and Dontavian Wicks. If you draft a receiver and trade AJ Brown, right? So it's like you have one of Dontavian Wicks and Hollywood Brown is not going to see the field. And I just don't think that they made those moves with the idea that one of them is not going to see the field. So I actually think that the Eagles are probably candidates to go receiver in round 2 or round 3. I just think that Denzel Boston, I don't think he's that good. Like, I'm always scared of receivers. First of all, Washington does not have a great history of receivers, first and foremost, right? Um, but also Denzel Boston is the kind of receiver that doesn't get a ton of separation, but makes a ton of contested catches. And me personally, that's not my style of receiver. I want receivers that get separation. So I wouldn't like this. I would not like Denzel Boston, and I hope that the information, any hypothetical information here, is more about the Eagles taking receiver and not about the Eagles taking Denzel Boston, because that's not my guy. KC Concepcion to the Browns. Okay, so I kind of thought that KC going in the first round was not realistic for the longest time. I'm seeing so many mock drafters have him in the first round, so I'm getting close to accepting that as a reality. My thing about the Browns, though, is that I don't think the Browns need him like the kind of receiver that he is. If you look at what the Browns are, right? The Browns have basically like role players at receiver, in my opinion. They're looking for a superstar, because if you have, let's say magically you dropped AJ Brown on the Browns, right? So he's your one, and then Jerry Jeudy as your two is okay. Isaiah Bond as your burner deep threat is okay, and then Cedric Tillman as your big physical, like contested catch kind of a player, that's okay, right? It's like the Browns are actually just missing a wide receiver one, then their whole wide receiver room will fall into place. KC Concepcion is like, he's a part of he's not that receiver. So this is the wrong receiver. I'm getting used to the fact that he's going to go at this part of the draft, but this is the wrong receiver. Caden Proctor to the Bears, that would be awesome for the Bears. Particularly because in Ben Johnson's offense, bro, they love doing wild shit with tackles, and fucking Caden Proctor got a bunch of the ball at Alabama for some reason. Obviously with Chicago, they lost Ozzie Trapillo in the playoffs, so he's probably gonna miss he was their left tackle last year. They're gonna miss a bunch of, like, they're gonna have to play at least half the season without their left tackle. Braxton Jones was up and down. They replaced him with Ozzie Trapillo, so the Bears kind of do need a left tackle. This would be unreal for them if they could get it in the form of Caden Proctor, because that would set them up nicely with Caden Proctor and Darnell Wright as their bookend tackles. So yeah, I kind of don't think he'll be here at 25, but it's a great pick. Caden McDonald to the Bills. Bills could definitely use defensive help. I don't know much about this player, but I do know he has a lot of hype. Bills could definitely get stronger at that part of the field, because I think they made some signings last year that didn't pan out. But also, this year, the big signing they made was Bradley Chubb. I don't think they made a big defensive tackle signing, and they could definitely use one. Caleb Lomu to the Niners. Again, don't know a ton about this player, but I do know that the Niners could use some offensive line help, especially with the fact that Trent Williams is getting older and older and less content with playing for a certain amount of money. So Lomu to the Niners makes sense. Texans going offensive tackle, they fucking better, bro. They better go offensive tackle. So this makes sense. Obviously, at this point, a lot of offensive tackles have gone off the board. My understanding is that Ianakor is basically the last tackle worth taking. After him, there's a pretty big like teardrop to the next level of tackles. So Houston gets lucky here, nabbing the last one. Colton Hood to the Chiefs. Obviously, they traded McDuffie and they lost Jalen Watson. Basically, like, their corners went to LA, so they're gonna need some help there if they don't get it at number 9, which I don't expect them to. Look for them to go corner at 23. In terms of Colton Hood being the guy, I don't think there's a ton of there's a ton of debate about what corners go at this part of the draft, because there's the corner from South Carolina. There's someone else too, but there's a handful of corners. I've seen Colton Hood mocked to the Seahawks a lot, so he does go to this, is expected to go at this part of the draft. But yeah, Kansas City Chiefs getting Colton Hood. Wouldn't be surprised if this is the pick. Thieneman to Miami. Okay, so again, this is like in line with the fact that they said they wanted to build a big physical football team. I don't think taking receiver and safety are how you do that. I'm pretty sure Thieneman's going to be an amazing safety. I just don't think Miami is the spot for him. Somebody else probably should take him, because this is great value at like 30. But yeah, that's the wrong team. Keelan Rutledge, Patriots go offensive line. We all watched the Super Bowl. We all watched Drake May be one of the most sacked quarterbacks ever and in the playoffs and fumble the ball all the time. They could definitely use some help. And this, again, I don't know much about this player, but that counts. And then the interesting one here is the Seahawks going running back in round 1. They go Jadarian Price, who was Jeremiah Love's backup. I don't know, man. Round 1, I don't see it. Jadarian Price is realistically a round 2 player, but specifically when it comes to the Seahawks, they don't have K9. Charbonnet tore his ACL in January, so who knows when he'll be back. And more important than anything, bro, if they want Sam Darnold to play well, I think they have to have a great running game. So the need to get a running back is pretty high. I just don't think that has to happen in round 1. I don't even know if Jadarian Price is that kind of a player. Like, if I was them, I would expect to have Charbonnet down the stretch. But this would just be, I don't know, this would be really ambitious to go Jadarian Price here. King, do you have any thoughts about him as a player? I guess not. We'll go to Walter Football to rip through the Charlie mock. I'm a big fan of Charlie as a mock drafter. I've been following them or following him as a mock drafter for a long time. He gets a lot of picks right, people. And if not their player, he gets a lot of positions right. So let's get to it. This one will be a little bit quicker. Mendoza number 1 makes sense. That's chalk. Arvel Reese 2, that's chalk. We see a lot of that again. A lot of my thoughts that apply to David Bailey at 2 apply here. David Bailey 3, so he just has to flip. And again, that's what I said, people. Like, there's going to be 2 teams early that go pass rusher, and whoever takes the first one and the first pick, like whoever takes one of them in the first pick, the other team is just going to take the other. There's not going to be a ton of teams that have one, I think, significantly higher than the other. These 2 teams will be trading spots. For Jeremiah Love, we already saw that. Okay, more hype about the Giants going offensive line. Again, two of the very best mock drafters at a lot of the same conclusions so far. I think there's some significance in that, right? Giants going offensive lineman. In this case, they go Fano. Again, more versatility here. This is going to be a player that's a great guard. So this, in my opinion, gives them 2 great offensive linemen. And that's going to be important with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. So some consistency here so far. He has the Browns taking Caleb Downs, and I think that's a big divergence from the last mock where Schrager had them going offensive lineman. Charlie has them going safety. From a value standpoint, I think this is fine. Caleb Downs is going to be an elite football player, in my opinion. So I have no issues with them taking an elite football player here. But yeah, this is the first big split. But as far as the player goes, the fit from team and player, all of that is fine. Caleb Downs stays in Ohio in this case. But yeah, I think who is their defensive coordinator? Browns defensive coordinator. Mike. Okay, geez, it's a new guy. Well, I mean, fuck, the guy would have Caleb Downs and Myles Garrett to work with. That's not a bad starting point. Washington goes Sonny Styles. Again, there's some agreement here between Schrager and Charlie. So that's one to watch for, people. Watch for Sonny Styles to the Commanders. Kenyon Sadiq. Oh, this is the second huge divergence between the 2 mocks because he has Kenyon Sadiq going to the Saints. I actually have a lot of the same opinions that I had when it comes to Baltimore. If Kenyon Sadiq goes to the Saints, I mean, I think Chris Olave might be better than him as far as being a weapon for Shuck, but he would be up there immediately. He would step into the offense and be Tyler Shuck's security blanket best friend kind of a player. The Saints need weapons because right now in the air, the only player I really respect, Juwan Johnson is cool, but the only player I really respect is Chris Olave, and they need more of that. Kenyon Sadiq would come in and basically be the wide receiver 2 in that offense. So yeah, Kenyon Sadiq to the Saints. I haven't seen anybody mocking that. I think it's a very interesting suggestion. And I could see them making this kind of a move. Again, you need real weapons for Tyler Shuck, and Kenyon Sadiq is a real weapon. It's shocking to see here because he goes before any of the receivers. But the point is, he is genuinely really good. And if you're talking about getting like a top two kind of a passing weapon on your team from day one, Kenyon Sadiq does give you a pretty decent shot at it compared to a lot of other kind of players. So, very irregular, very unique this pick is, but I can see it. He has the Chiefs going Ruben Bain Jr. So in Traeger's mock, he went number 8. So the Chiefs didn't have this decision to make. He had them going receiver. Charlie has them going Ruben Bain. Again, I kind of get the hunch Bain is going to fall out of the top 10, although I do think he's a great player. Yeah, if he goes to the Chiefs, that makes sense. They need more help at edge. I've maintained that if they want to get the offense better, that they have to get go tackle over receiver. But if they want to go defense, edge and corner, I think are equally needs and equally spots that he could that could be improved. So I definitely wouldn't be mad about edge, man. He draws a lot of comparisons to Brandon Graham, and Andy Reid drafted Brandon Graham, so I can see them going Bain. Oh my goodness, Maui go to the Bengals. That would make them better, but for goodness sake, they need to go edge. They need to go defense as a whole. Edge rusher probably not because they went edge last year, and you tend not to see teams going back to back at the same position. But man, do they need an offensive tackle? Like, sure, they could do better at protecting Joe Burrow, but the Bengals need defense in the worst way, and I just would be shocked if they don't go defense. Okay. Dolphins go Peter Woods. This aligns a little bit more with what we heard about the Dolphins wanting to construct a big physical football team. Say what you want about Peter Woods. The defensive tackles are big physical players. So I know there's for example, I don't remember Peter Woods being in Traeger's mock draft. So from a value standpoint, this might not be great value, but from the standpoint of the fact that they took Kenneth Grant last year and it doesn't look like it's worked out that great, Peter Woods would really, really help, in theory. But it aligns with the vision. So that part definitely makes sense to me. Cowboys going Mansour Delane again. A team that needs defensive talent gets a pretty good one here. Mekhi Lemon against the Rams. We saw that already, so we've already spoken about it. Could see the pick happening. Jordan Tyson to the Ravens. Okay, so in this case, Jordan Tyson, instead of going 9 to the Chiefs, goes 14 to the Ravens. There's some overlap here in terms of the Ravens wanting to add a weapon. Jordan Tyson, obviously, I think would step in and be better than Zay Flowers. I think he would be their wide receiver 1. Much like Zay Flowers, there's some injury issues, but Jordan Tyson to the Ravens, I think would be a great pick. Gives Lamar probably the best receiver he's ever had. CJ Allen to the Bucks. Okay, this feels like a stretch. CJ Allen was not in Traeger's mock draft. I think you have to be a damn good linebacker to go this high in the draft. And while I think he's good, I don't know if he's that guy. So I think this is a bit of a reach from a value standpoint. I think this is a little bit too basic of an idea in terms of replacing Levante David. You don't have to replace Levante David this early in the draft. And I just think this is too high. So yeah, not a huge fan of this. Even though they need reinforcements on defense, not this badly. Not this badly do they need a linebacker. Jets take Carnell Tate. Okay, this makes a lot more sense to me in terms of the Jets drafting receiver. In this case, they take the second receiver off the board, and it's Carnell Tate. I kind of don't buy the idea that they would take the fourth receiver off the board, but if they get a chance to grab the second, you have the opportunity to give yourself your second Ohio State receiver. And I think that's a great position to put yourself in. Whenever you have the chance to get multiple Ohio State receivers, I think you should try to make that happen. So that's what would happen here. And I think it would be a good move for them. And then Carnell Tate, is already somebody used to being wide receiver too, so I think he'll slot right in. Caden Proctor to the Lions. This is the second mock where they're going offensive line, and I think, again, this makes sense. You talk about Detroit liking big, physical, athletic linemen. Caden Proctor is that kind of a player. Obviously, Ben Johnson's not there anymore, but you talk about watching Penei Sewell catch the ball. Like Caden Proctor is another offensive tackle that's used to having the ball in his hands, which is a bizarre thing to think about. But yeah, Caden Proctor fell to 25 in the last mock. I see him going in this kind of a range. Second mock drafter to suggest the Vikings are going safety. So I guess the Vikings are going safety, guys. Like this is some cohesion between two very plugged in mock drafters. Like I said, I don't think it's a great idea, but they seem to suggest that it's going to happen. Panthers go corner as opposed to offensive tackle here. Avion Terrell, somebody who probably like the Jade Barron of this draft from the standpoint of like a corner that could play on the outside, but you're probably going to get their most impactful snaps if you play them on the inside. They have JC Horn. They've added some major pieces to the defense with Devin Lloyd and Jalen Phillips. This would be another one. I get the idea that they could probably benefit from getting some insurance at left tackle, given that Ikwanu got hurt. But Avion Terrell would help too. Avion Terrell did not go in Traeger's mock though, so that's interesting. Keldrick Falk, this was the other edge rusher I was thinking about when the last mock had the Steelers taking TJ Parker. That mock didn't have Cassius Howell or Keldrick Falk going in the first round. Cowboys go Keldrick Falk here. Again, question remains, is this great value at this part of the draft? But it does. The Cowboys definitely need help at this position. They could use as much defensive talent as they could get. Keldrick Falk, he's a huge edge rusher with like I think the ability to play inside even a little. In Dallas's case, they have defensive tackles, so you don't necessarily need that. But if you talk about having an edge rusher that's going to set the edge, maybe not rush the passer like to get 15, 16 sacks, but as somebody who's just going to play good, fundamentally sound football, I think Keldrick Falk kind of falls in line with that kind of a player. The Steelers take Venga Ione here. That would be a great pick, man. We were talking about the Steelers mock, or the Steelers positional like needs in our last mock. We talked about guard being the only spot you would go on offense. If they were to take this guy, you're talking about now essentially having like two like having a home run guard. This is probably their best offensive lineman if they draft him. And it would be I think a major reason you see like a resurgence from their ground game next year if he falls to them. But I get the suspicion he won't be here. Lee Hunter, haven't even heard this name, but I could see them going defensive tackle. I could definitely see them going defensive tackle. That's some Harbaugh shit. Eagles go Denzel Boston. No, man. Back-to-back mock drafts with Denzel Boston. Okay, I'm scared. That is too much. I'm a little bit scared now seeing all that. Please do not bring Denzel Boston to Philly. Bring Vega Ione to Philly, not Denzel Boston. Monroe Freeling. Okay, so in the last mock, they had them going Fano and Concepcion. In this mock, they have them grabbing the offensive tackle at 24. So pretty clear indication here that the Browns are going to leave with an offensive lineman. The question remains what the other spot is going to be. But in this case, where they go downs at 6, Monroe Freeling is here at 24. Again, they need offensive linemen. This is good value in terms of getting Freeling at 24. Could definitely see this pick. Caden McDonald going 25 to the Bears. That makes sense. They could use the help there. And this is around where he went in the last mock. I believe he went to Buffalo. Cassius Howell, again, the other edge rusher that Peter Schrager didn't have going high in his mock, goes to the Bills. I don't know if the Bills are going to necessarily go edge rusher here because they had an edge rusher who got suspended last year and then got hurt when he came back. And then they got Bradley Chubb signed in the offseason. So in a way, they're adding 2 edge rushers that they didn't have. I still think they can bring AJ Epinesa back because I know his contract voided with the Browns. So I don't know if edge is where they need to go. I think they could maybe more impact the team taking other positions. Casey Concepcion. Okay, I've seen a lot of KC to San Fran, by the way. I think the only reason to take KC is if you're kind of over Ricky Pearsall, which they absolutely could be, by the way. But I think Casey is the kind of player that would fit amazingly in a Shanahan offense. So I do think he would be dangerous in this offense. I initially didn't think he was a first-round player, But it seems that it's clear that he's going to be. So KC in the first round, San Fran would be one of the better options for sure. Texans go Blake Miller. I think Blake Miller at 28 is sensational value here. They had to take Ianakor on the last one in this mock draft. Clearly, the offensive tackles are falling a little lower, but Blake Miller makes a ton of sense to me here. Chiefs go Jermod McCoy. So this is back-to-back drafts where they go corner at 29. They literally replace McDuffie with the McDuffie pick. That part makes sense. Jermod McCoy at 29 is great value. Dolphins go Akeem Messidor. I think that makes sense. They need edge help, local Miami player. This mock has them going defensive tackle and defensive end. So you talk about wanting to build a physical football team. This mock is more in line with that kind of a vision. So I think Charlie definitely knows what he's talking about in that regard. Patriots go offensive line again in this draft. Schrager had them going offensive line. Charlie has them going offensive line. Again, this part of the draft for Max makes sense and is respectable value for sure. And then Colton Hood to the Seahawks. Again, this is what I've seen a lot more often than running back. Jadarian Price at this spot was pretty odd to see. But Colton Hood is commonly mocked to the Seahawks here. And they do need a Tariq Woolen replacement. So it does make sense for them to get a player like him. But yeah, so those are the two mock drafts that I wanted to look at. The last thing I wanted to look at was Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 list, because it's kind of like a refreshing thing to look at, because a lot of mock drafts, again, are partially written with keeping team needs in mind, keeping positional value in mind. Sometimes it's good to just cleanse your eyes by seeing somebody who's just telling you, here's how good the players are. Like, this is my rankings of how good the players are, right? Mendoza 1, cool. Jeremiah Love 2, makes complete sense. I actually think he might be 1. Jeremiah Love, great football player. Sonny Styles, number 3. Again, you don't see Sonny Styles going number 3 overall, but Sonny Styles is considered one of the best players in the draft. So if Washington gets him at 7, they got a pretty good player. But he's a linebacker. Again, 2 and 3, right? Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles might be to the 2 best players in the draft. They're just a running back and a linebacker, so they don't get that much gas. David Bailey at 4, yep. Arvell Reese at 5. Again, these 2 players are going to be close, and it's essentially not a coin flip, but you take whoever you like better. Carnell Tate, number 6. This is interesting because the last 2 mocks we saw Jordan Tyson going before Carnell Tate. But he has Carnell Tate as the 6th best player in the draft. Ruben Bain, 7. Damn, okay, that's higher than I would have expected anyone to put Ruben Bain, but fairs. Mansour Delane, pretty high, which is interesting because corner is a prime position in the NFL, and Mansour Delane is considered the best corner in the draft. And, a lot of people have him pretty high on the big boards, but you tend to not see him mocked high. And I think that's more of a draft need kind of a thing, and assessing how many teams desperately need a corner. Caleb Downs at 9. That one's surprising. Surprising to see him as low as 9. I would have put him a little bit higher, for sure. Francis Mauigoa at 10. That makes sense. Venga Ione at 11. Again, people, you don't see Venga mocked around 11, but Venga is phenomenal, guys. Venga is really, really good. Do not get that twisted. So Venga at 11, respect. Makai Lemon at 12. That checks Spencer Flannel at 13. So he has Venga just one after Mauigoa. But again, man, Venga's up there as one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. Sadiq, 14. That makes sense. Jermod McCoy, 15. Emmanuel, oh my goodness. I've not seen him this high or above Dylan Thieneman. That's interesting. Okay. Maybe you have to consider him going towards the end of the first round. That's very high on the big board. Thieneman, 17 right there. Omar Cooper Jr. Damn, that's ahead of Jordan Tyson. It's ahead of Jordan Tyson. Makai Lemon was ahead of Omar Cooper, but is Jordan Tyson right here? No, Blake Miller. All right, Monroe Freeling. Jordan Tyson, 21. Okay. Interesting. Caden Proctor, 22. Akeem Messidor, 23. TJ Parker, 24. Colton Hood, 25. These all make sense. Lomu, 26. Boston, I don't know. Cassius Howell, 28. That makes sense. KC, 29. CJ Allen, 30. All of this is fairly predictable. Anthony Hill Jr., I think this is probably the highest player that's guaranteed to not go in the first round of the draft. Caden McDonald, yep. Avion Terrell, yep. Max Ayanakor, yep. Lee Hunter, okay. This you're now venturing into the territory of players that I don't think are going to go in the first round of the draft. But Peter Woods is actually below Lee Hunter. That's fascinating to see. Ty Simpson, 38, Jadarian Price, 39, Chris Johnson, the corner. That's what I think the first player I'm seeing that I haven't heard of. Jacob Rodriguez, 41. Okay, second best linebacker, or I guess third best linebacker in the draft. Caleb Banks, defensive tackle. I think this guy broke his foot, so that's going to be hard to overcome. Brandon Cisse, Keontae Scott from Miami. He's like 24. Zion Young, the edge rusher. Malachi Lawrence, Keelan Rutledge. Oh, we saw mock with this guy going in the first round. I definitely don't see that. Antonio Williams, the receiver from Clemson. R. Mason Thomas. What a name. That's a very presidential name. And then Jeremy Bernard. So this is his top 5. Again, I think it's just a refreshing sight to be reminded of like who are the players that are like just good at football. Forget positional value, forget team needs. Who is simply just good at football. So that's going to be the end of the stream for me, people. This was a short one. Again, every Sunday night, I try to touch base with you guys about the draft. We have the draft coming up in just about 10 days. It's on the 23rd in Pittsburgh. So we're going to be definitely live for a bunch of that. A lot of chat's going to have to happen there because there's going to be some big moves that happen, obviously. But yeah, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I will be back next Sunday to probably do my own mock draft at that point. But yeah, I'll see you guys around. Take care. Peace. I'm going to let Stephen A. Smith do the honors. And I'll see you guys next week. Like I said, run up the numbers on your way out. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And I am out.
Y'all take it easy. I'm out. Y'all take it